Back in the factories and mills of the early 20th century in America, our grandfathers worked long, punishing hours. Breaks were short. Meals had to be fast, hearty, and cheap. Simple sandwiches wrapped in wax paper and packed into steel lunch pails. These weren't just meals, they were survival tools. Born from hardship, necessity, and a dash of kitchen creativity, these sandwiches powered generations through the longest days. Today, we're peeling back the lunch pail lid and stepping into the world of old-school, blue-collar ingenuity. From fried bologna to peanut butter and banana, we're breaking down the classics that filled lunch pails and generations of memories. Here are 30 factory worker sandwiches your grandpa swore by, each one packed with grit, comfort, and a story worth telling. The Bologna Classic. Few sandwiches are as iconic as a thick slice of bologna nestled between pillowy white bread. If one sandwich ruled the factory break room, it was this one. Factory workers cherished this no-fuss favorite, especially when the bologna was pan-fried until the edges curled and crisped. Add a dab of yellow mustard, or, if you were lucky, a slice of onion or cheese. This poor man's steak brought protein and flavor to long, grueling shifts. Reliable and deeply satisfying, it was a taste of comfort that always hit the spot, making even the toughest days a bit easier to swallow. Bread and drippings. When times were lean, nothing went to waste, not even bacon fat. Grandmas would save every drop of drippings in a jar. At breakfast, Grandpa might spoon those savory leftovers over hearty slices of bread, letting them soak in the rich, smoky flavor. A sprinkle of salt or pepper turned this into a greasy, energy-packed lunch, perfect for powering through hours on the factory floor. It was the flavor of resourcefulness, stretching a few scraps into a meal that tasted like home and hard work. Lard and sugar sandwich. In the toughest years, lard was a cheap staple, prized for its calories. Spread thick on bread and dusted with a layer of sugar, it became a sweet, energizing treat that fueled countless laborers. Sometimes, a pinch of cinnamon made it feel almost decadent. A dessert on a dime. Kids and adults alike looked forward to this sandwich, a reminder that even when cupboards were bare, a little imagination could turn humble ingredients into something that felt special and deeply comforting. Onion and butter sandwich. This pungent powerhouse was a favorite for workers needing a cheap, filling meal. Slices of raw onion, sometimes softened by a quick soak in cold water, were laid on a thick smear of buttered bread. The sharp bite of the onion was mellowed by the creamy butter, creating a bold and unforgettable flavor. Its strong smell also meant that, in a crowded lunchroom, nobody would dare borrow your sandwich. It was a lunchbox staple for coal miners, mill hands, and anyone tough enough to appreciate its punch. Tomato and salt sandwich. When summer gardens overflowed, nothing beat thick, juicy slices of homegrown tomato layered on fresh bread with a sprinkle of salt. Some added mayonnaise, others a touch of black pepper. The tomato's juices would soak into the bread, creating a messy but glorious bite. For many, this sandwich captured the fleeting taste of sunshine and abundance, standing in sharp contrast to the gray, factory-bound hours that filled most days. It was summer in your hands, one slice at a time. Mayonnaise and banana sandwich. Strange as it sounds, this southern favorite kept bellies full when money was tight. Slices of ripe banana laid on white bread and smeared with a thin layer of mayo created a sweet, creamy, and surprisingly satisfying combination. Sometimes, a drizzle of honey or sugar transforms it into a treat. Depression-era families relied on this pairing for its affordability and nutrition. It's proof that necessity can lead to unlikely and unforgettable flavors that linger in family memories for generations. Peanut butter and pickle sandwich. For a tangy twist, some workers turned to this oddball combination. Creamy peanut butter spread thick on bread and topped with crunchy dill pickles made for a sandwich that was salty, nutty, and bracingly tart. It was a quick, protein-rich meal that broke up the monotony of more basic lunches. Though it might raise eyebrows today for many blue-collar families, it was a beloved taste of childhood, passed down through decades as a quirky family favorite. Bread and milk sandwich. This was comfort food in its purest form, slices of bread soaked in sweetened milk, sometimes sprinkled with sugar or cinnamon, pressed together to create a soft, cake-like sandwich. For children of the Depression, it was often the closest thing to dessert. For adults, it provided quick energy for long shifts. Simple, filling, and a little bit sweet, it's a humble reminder of how families made do, and sometimes even found joy, when little else was on hand. Ketchup sandwich. When the cupboard was truly bare, ketchup and bread could still make a meal. Sometimes the bread was toasted for extra crunch. Other times, a sprinkle of sugar turned this into a pseudo-dessert. Depression-era kids grew up on ketchup sandwiches, carrying the memory into adulthood as a quirky, nostalgic treat. In factories and schools alike, this sandwich was proof that you didn't need much to get by. Just a little tang, a little sweetness, and a lot of resilience. Egg and sardines sandwich. Protein was precious, and this sandwich packed plenty. Hard-boiled eggs mashed with canned sardines, and a splash of vinegar created a filling spread for bread. Sometimes onions or pickles were added for extra zing. Popular among immigrants and factory workers, this combo offered a nutritional punch that kept tired bodies going. The flavors were bold, the smell unforgettable, and for many, it was the taste of hard work and perseverance. Mock chicken sandwich. When chicken was out of reach, creative cooks made do. Ground bologna or other cheap meats were mixed with cracker crumbs and seasonings, then blended with mayo to mimic the texture and flavor of chicken salad. Sometimes celery, sage, or even food coloring made the illusion more convincing. This sandwich was common in factory cafeterias and school lunchrooms, standing as a tribute to ingenuity and making something out of nearly nothing. Spam and mustard sandwich. Spam was a factory worker's best friend, cheap, shelf-stable, and surprisingly tasty when pan-fried until crispy. Sliced thick or thin, topped with a smear of spicy mustard, Spam sandwiches became a symbol of thrift and resourcefulness. Soldiers brought the taste home from World War II, cementing it as a lunchbox favorite for generations. Whether you loved it or merely tolerated it, Spam earned its place as a working man's classic. Peanut butter and jelly, this all-American staple needs little introduction. Peanut butter for protein, jelly for sweetness, together they made a sandwich that stuck to your ribs and fueled endless hours on the assembly line. Families stretched every jar by spreading thin but wide, sometimes swapping in the apple butter or homemade preserves, depending on what was on hand. The PB&J's simplicity was its genius, affordable, satisfying, and universally beloved. Bread and butter. When money was tight, 2 slices of bread and a generous smear of butter could still feel like a treat. Some families toasted the bread for a little extra crunch. Others added a sprinkle of salt or sugar. Parents would sometimes cut sandwiches into fun shapes for their kids, turning a simple lunch into a small moment of joy. It was a lesson in making the best of what you had and finding comfort in the basics. Cucumber sandwich. Cool, crisp cucumbers were a summertime blessing. Sliced thin and layered on buttered bread with a dash of salt, this sandwich brought welcome relief to workers sweating in hot, stuffy factories. Sometimes a splash of vinegar or fresh dill elevated the flavor. It was light, hydrating, and a refreshing change from the heavier staples. For many, the taste of cucumber sandwiches still means summer, and the ingenuity of a well-tended backyard garden. Ham and cheese. A single slice of ham, shaved paper thin, and 1 square of cheese made for a meal that mothers could stretch across several sandwiches. Maybe a swipe of mayo or lettuce if it was payday. Ham and cheese was a luxury compared to most, but blue-collar families knew how to make it last. It wasn't just about taste, it was about sharing what you had and making every bite count. Bacon and peanut butter sandwich. If bacon was in the house, not a scrap went to waste. 1 crispy strip, crumbled and swirled into peanut butter, transformed an ordinary sandwich into something smoky, salty, and indulgent. Sometimes a drizzle of honey or molasses turned it into a rare treat. Workers looked forward to this sandwich as a reward, a small luxury in a sea of everyday struggle. Then mayonnaise and onion. This bold combination tamed the bite of sharp onion with smooth, creamy mayonnaise. Slices of onion, soaked in water to soften, if you had the time, were layered on bread and finished with a dash of pepper. For many, especially in the South and Midwest, this was the taste of hard work, cheap lunches, and the kind of sustenance that sticks with you through the longest shifts. Chicken salad sandwich. A roasted chicken fed a family for days, and the last shreds were chopped fine, mixed with mayonnaise, celery, or even chopped apple to create this classic. Chicken salad sandwiches stretched a little protein a long way, often served at church socials and special occasions. The finer the chop, the farther it went. Proof that with a little care, leftovers could become a lunch worth looking forward to. Fried bologna sandwich, the ultimate upgrade for the classic bologna. Pan fry a slice until the edges curl, then slap it on bread with mustard or mayo. The crispy texture, smoky aroma, and simple ingredients turned this into a blue-collar delicacy. It was hearty, hot, and made even the smallest lunch break feel like a feast. Every bite brought comfort, warmth, and a reminder that sometimes simple is best. Liver spread sandwich. Liver was cheap and loaded with nutrients, perfect for families watching every penny. Sautéed, finely chopped, and blended with onions and mayonnaise, liver spread made for a rich, iron-packed sandwich. Some added hard-boiled egg or relish for extra flavor. While not everyone loved its strong taste, it powered workers through the hardest days and provided much-needed energy. Potato and mustard sandwich. Leftover potatoes, boiled, mashed, or even roasted, were sliced and piled onto bread, then topped with tangy mustard. Filling, starchy, and robust, this sandwich provided much-needed calories on the cheap. It was a common sight in factory lunchrooms, a reminder that you could make a meal out of just about anything with a little creativity and a strong work ethic. Olive loaf sandwich. A slice or two of olive loaves, usually paired with a swipe of mayo or mustard, made for a salty, briny sandwich with real personality. Sometimes lettuce or even a slice of cheese joined the mix. Its distinct flavor made it memorable, either loved or avoided, but for many it was a lunchroom staple that brought a little variety to the week. Sloppy Joe's sandwich. Ground beef was precious, so mothers would stretch it with onions, tomato sauce, and any leftover veggies. Piled high on a soft bun, the result was saucy, messy, and deeply satisfying. Sloppy Joe's filled hungry bellies and made a little meat go a long way. Even today, this sandwich brings back memories of family dinners, laughter, and the simple pleasures of a homemade meal. Creamed corn sandwich. When creamed corn was on hand, it became the star of a quick, warm sandwich. Spread generously over buttered bread, sometimes toasted for crunch, this sweet, comforting meal could turn a gray day bright. For many, the taste of creamed corn sandwiches still evokes memories of Grandma's kitchen, rainy afternoons, and the hope that came from a full stomach. Anchovy paste sandwich. It only took a little anchovy paste, spread thin on buttered bread, to bring big flavor. Some added hard-boiled egg or onion for richness. Popular among Mediterranean immigrants and factory hands, this sandwich packed protein, salt, and heartiness into every bite. In tough times, strong flavors went a long way, reminding families of faraway homes and better days to come. Curried sardines sandwich. For adventurous eaters, sardines mashed with curry powder, mayonnaise, lemon, and celery turned into a zesty, protein-packed sandwich. The bold flavors were a welcome change from a more basic fare, and the sandwich provided lasting energy for long shifts. It was proof that even canned fish could become a source of excitement and comfort, especially when spiced just right. Monte Cristo. This was the splurge sandwich for factory families. Ham and cheese were dipped in egg batter, fried until golden, and sometimes dusted with powdered sugar. The result was crispy, melty, and utterly indulgent. Monte Cristos were reserved for paydays, holidays, or when someone wanted to turn an ordinary day into something memorable. Every bite was a celebration of survival, of togetherness, and of making even simple things special. Chopped apple and cheddar. Fresh apples and sharp cheddar cheese, sliced and layered on bread, created a sweet, tangy, and filling sandwich. Sometimes a dab of mustard or sprinkle of salt brought the flavors together. It was a New England favorite, offering crunch, energy, and a touch of brightness in the middle of a long shift. Leftover stew sandwich. No leftovers ever went to waste. Cold stew, full of potatoes, vegetables, and scraps of meat, was spooned onto thick bread and pressed into a sandwich. It might have been messy, but it was filling and resourceful. Every bite was a reminder that nothing was wasted and that every meal, no matter how humble, was a victory over hardship. There you have it, 30 sandwiches that powered a nation and carried generations through hardship and hope. Each one is more than just a recipe. It's a piece of living history, a testament to resilience, resourcefulness, and love. Which of these have you tried? Which ones remind you of your family's kitchen? Drop your memories in the comments, share your favorite sandwich, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for more journeys into the flavors of our past. Until next time, remember, even the simplest meal can hold the richest stories.